On with me?
I am. I'm on. I hear you.
All right. Awesome. See where we're at. Okay. Welcome to Crew Call Live, Crew Call Live, Crew Call Live. I am with the legend, Richie Leible. Richie, I am so thankful you took the time out to spend an hour with me and talk about your career in sports and what you're doing. I am such a fan of your work. You've been doing this for a long time. I really want to get started at the beginning because we've talked earlier. I said you either get exposed to the people or the career, but you exposed to the people or the equipment. So I want to find out, how did you get your exposure? You're a legacy guy. Your father was in the business, right? Yeah. How was that exposure? How young were you when you first?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that's just it. I have a father and an uncle that were in the business, and my dad used to take me to work when I was about 6 years old, and I'd go to 30 Rockefeller Plaza, and he would edit on two-inch reels, and I'd watch him edit in these edit machine on these edit suites, and he'd put up movies, Superman and stuff like that to keep me busy. And there's my dad on the right. My dad on the right there, that's Corey, my uncle Corey Leible, who's a handheld cameraman and my mentor. And on the left, that's Harry Weissman, a really, really good friend of mine, and just a great human being as well, and a good friend, and had a lot to do with me getting my motivation in the business and everything, and sticking to everything that I was doing. Just a great guy. All three of them were great.
So when you were a young guy, what'd you do? You said you went to work with your dad. You got a chance to see what it was like. How did you? Because when you're young, and then you show up on you get exposed to the compound of a working sports event. It could be intimidating. You see 50 people, 100 people doing jobs, and you don't know what everybody's doing. And it had to take you a while to figure out, oh my God, this is what he does. This is what he does. Where did you figure out, all right, I like what that guy's doing. I want to do that.
Yeah, well, I played sports. I love playing sports. And when I realized I am not good enough to be a professional player, I said, you know what? The next best thing was to get into sports and get behind the scenes. And so that's when there was an opportunity. I just got out of high school. It was a summer, and I worked an Orange Bowl football game. In 1985, I was down in Miami, down at the Miami Orange Bowl football game, and I was able to do utility on the sideline vehicle. And it was when Teddy Nathanson was the director. We're going way back, 1985. Don O'Meara was the producer. He was working for NBC Sports at the time. Before he went out on his own, he was working with NBC. And yeah, and I got to be able to do utility on the sideline. And there was a gentleman down there who did the red hat, doing all the TV timeouts and everything. And he was actually affiliated with the NBC. They took him out of WSVN in Miami. They brought him in. He used to love to do the job. And he was the general manager of the TV station. And he was down there working. And he came up to me and he said, who are you? And blah, blah, blah. He just liked my work ethic. I was working, real hard around, pulling cables and doing everything. And he found out I was, my father's, Dick was my dad. Corey was my uncle. And he said to me, what are you doing? Where you going? You going to college? What are you doing? And I was going to go to college. And he said, well, we have an opening for a camera position down here at WSVN in Miami, the local affiliate. And he said, if you're interested, you can come down here and I'll meet you, and, we can get on the ped camera and all of that, and see how you do. And believe it or not, that's how I got in.
What was that doing? So that was doing studio stuff, were you doing E&G studio? What was
everything? So when you're working a local TV station, I was doing the Jimmy Johnson show on Sunday. He was the coach of the U of M. He was the coach of the Hurricanes. He'd come in on Sunday, and we'd do the props. We did audio. We did camera. So we had our hands in on a lot of things. I did E&G. I remember flying down to Cape Canaveral in a helicopter doing E&G when that, just when we had news stories. So we did we did TV shows inside the studios, plus the news. So I did a lot of news, and I did TV shows that were taped inside there and in the local studio. And that's where I got my start.
And so how long did you do that for, doing that stuff before you said,
I want to
go into sports?
Yeah, so my parents decided to move down to Florida my last year of high school. I did my last year of high school down there. I started working at WSVN, and I was working down there for about a year and a half. And there was an opening as a vacation relief back at 30 Rockefeller Plaza. My father said, "Hey, do you want to come back to New York?" I said, "I would love to come back home." And he said there was a job. Now you were gonna work in the videotape library. That was where the opening was. It was in my father's department because he was an editor. So I went back there and I worked in the videotape department, and I ended up learning all these shifts, putting all the shows that were going to go on the air, and for the next day, and parts, commercials. There was shifts all around the clock, and I've learned each one of them. The 24-hour shift, and I was working my way in like that, and that one thing led to another. We went on strike in the '80s, and then I came back as a cameraman, and I started working on the Today Show, and then I got into sports in 1988, and then that's when that started.
Well, I mean, you talk about it like you got into sports in 1988, and it was like your career. I mean, I asked you to send me some pictures, man. It is so impressive how all the amount of events. That's a couple of legends right there.
Legendary Don
Hall of Fame.
Cornelli.
Both of you guys are going to be. That's a Hall of Famer and a future Hall of Famer. If I've ever seen a couple of guys, I mean, your body of work, the amount of events you've been at, the things that you've been a part of, it's really remarkable to your career and what you've done and where you've gone.
I've been fortunate and blessed to be around such good people in this business, and yeah, it's almost I get emotional because I've been lucky,
That's the whole thing. It is. I can tell that it hits you because there is a givingness about emotionally the mentorship, having somebody that cared enough to show you something, to teach you something, really means something, and it means more to you now when you realize how generous that was of that person. How nice.
Very grateful.
Yeah,
very grateful for everybody that's crossed my path in this business because we work around a lot of great people, and we all know we're blessed to have this job, and we're lucky. And you got to work hard at it. It's like we tell our kids, work hard, and you can get places and do things, and great things will happen. And so, yeah, I was given that opportunity to get in, and of course, with an uncle and a father who had a pretty good name in the business, I had to keep it up. I didn't want to let nobody down, and I figured, I got to do this on my own. And so that's when I started to do my thing and, work hard and try to, do the best I can and yeah, and get and fortunate to get those opportunities.
I have to say, like, I have so much respect for that because I know your dedication to your craft is so genuine because I had the opportunity. I told you before we did this that you probably don't even remember, but when I was real green in the business and I was kind of where you were talking about being, I was doing some new stuff and I was trying to explore where if I'm going to try to do sports, because I had done some sports at, high school, college, back in the cable stuff, but I hadn't done any professional stuff. But I had it in at IBW and I was doing because of my E&G work, not doing any game stuff, never doing any live stuff like that, only because I was pretty good with the camera and lighting and everything else.
Right.
But the union gave me a chance to be utility on a NFL football game, and you were the camera guy. And I remember watching you work, running down the field, doing your cable, thinking, "Holy, like this is a different animal. This guy, this sports is I realized that it's a different level of work. It's a different kind of mindset. I'm like, this guy is a pro. You were at a state, and you were still you still have done so much more in that time. But even then, man, I saw in your work, you looked at me, you were like, we got to go here. I'm like, okay, we're going to, and I was intimidated back then, carrying 500 feet of cable with another guy who was.
It was not easy. It was not easy. I know.
He was just as green as me. He's looking at me like he made me be the numbers, the second guy next behind you. Because he was, less experienced than I was. And I was like, oh shit, I don't want to be the guy right behind him. And because I'm like, and you were, but like, that experience taught me more than I can ever thank you for, because it was my first view of professionalism, and it gave me something to aspire to. I go, I want to be a pro like that. You left
Very
an impression.
kind. Those are kind words. Thank you.
No, you didn't, but you left an impression with me. And then had the chance, like we've worked together on some shows because I've had been lucky enough to jump on the Belmont a couple of times with some of the other, you've done amazing. You've done everything from NFL, golf, your golf career alone, we could do an hour on. But I remember doing the horse racing stuff and getting a chance to hear you on headsets, how the directors respect what you say, how you're going to get to where you got to get to, how all that stuff plays out. Let's talk a little bit about, because I remember you like as a handheld guy. You're not a handheld guy no more. You're Mr. Steadicam. You're doing a lot more work. Now, not many guys, I think, will make the change from handheld to Steadicam because, like, most guys want to, they do handheld and then they go, I'm ready to jump on hard camera for the end of my career. But you're still rocking it, man.
Well, I've been blessed, working with Tommy Roy, the producer on Golf, who was an executive producer, and he's done everything and has a gazillion Emmys himself. He's an amazing producer. It was a time I was working with Bucky Guntz and Doug Graybert. They were directors. Bucky started me out in golf, and I'm very fortunate there. But Tommy, when he knew I had a pretty good relationship with Tiger Woods and he wanted a Steadicam on golf, he gave me that opportunity. He just came up to me one day and goes, "Hey man, how would you like to learn Steadicam? And we'll send you to the school and we'll pay for you for the week to go." And I was flattered. I was like, it was, of course, I was like, wow, yeah, I'd love to do that, Tommy. And so really that's how I got into Steadicam. It was because I was running around with a handheld and I had great relationships with these guys on the course that he wanted me to be around him to get up, with the Steadicam and do this on the walks and everything. So that's really how I got started with the Steadicam. That's Tiger when he won after a long time of not doing much. He came back and won that tour championship, and what a special moment for him. Incredible. Yeah, that was real special.
What's it like for you when you're in the moment there and you're capturing a historic moment, a really emotional moment there, and you're there, you're in there, and you're hearing it and seeing it, and you're the eyes. That tally stays on you. You're on. This is you. You're the story.
Yeah, I guess I get so focused that I don't even know what's going on around me. Honestly, I block so much out in most things that I do. I just kind of look in that monitor and I see what I got to do, and it's all about framing. And I try to move with the emotion. I try to time it, like on certain things, and even when I'm moving around, and just try to capture, that emotion, and so I totally concentrate on it, looking at the face and stuff like that, and try to just, get it, the timing of it all.
So you actually took advantage of taking the class. Did you take? Was it? So how long was the Steadicam class?
A week. I took it for a week.
So you took it for a week. Then you bought your own rig, or they were buying.
I did. No, I ended up buying my own rig, and it wasn't like I was doing a lot of Steadicam work right away. Tommy had asked me to do the golf, and I was doing it on certain golf events because not everyone did they want the Steadicam on, and then I went from there to getting in the studio. I always talk to Tori Livia, one of the greatest Steadicam operators in the entertainment business, a guy who helped me with my gear and everything, and moved me, get me going in the right direction. He said, "Rich, you're gonna have to get in that Steadicam. You're gonna have to wear that thing, and it's not going to be like you're going to be able to do it, go to handheld, come back, do it, go to handheld, come back. It's like it's got to live on you for a while." And I was fortunate enough to get in the studio and do the Steadicam, and he was right. You need reps. You need to be in that thing to get those reps.
I feel like in order to get longevity, in order to get longevity in your career, and you want to stay healthy, this is what you do for your living. So like you have to do it in a way that's safe for you. You have to do it in a way that it's not going to really hurt you. You don't want to be, like that. That must have been nice being on a.
That was nice.
Yeah, on a golf cart.
I don't get to sit down much, but I tell you that was fun. Yeah, doing a little low mode and just sitting on the cart. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I like that.
But do you do anything different to take care of yourself? I mean, are you trying stuff? Do you
Oh man, I do a lot.
but
I
have you
do.
always been that way, or are you more
Yeah,
careful
well,
about it now?
I like the gym. I like to I'm a very competitive guy. So like I'm very competitive. It's the athlete in me, you know what I mean? So stretching, first of all, being in the gym as much as I could be in there, stretching, doing the cryo. I mean, I take care of my body, get massages and everything. You have to. I mean, if you're an operator, like you have to take care of yourself because it's not light. You're running around, and you're putting a lot of wear and tear on your body, you
What?
know.
How do you work out the balance? Because how do you politely let people know like, hey, I can't do this for like this. I have to. How do you like? Cause directors, like, they all love the shot, so they want it forever. And it's kind of there has to be a time where you're like, listen, man, I got to have a break here. How do you figure out?
Honestly, I've never said that to anybody. I'll just have a stand nearby, and I kind of can figure out what we're doing. You know what I mean? So like, I kind of understand when is the time to really hang it up and then take it off, and I really pay attention to know like, okay, I'm not going to have anybody going, hey, you need to be wearing that thing right this second. I just don't waste time holding it, knowing that there's people talking, production's still figuring things out. Let me put this thing down a second. And then once I hear in my PL that, okay, I hear like things are going to start to happen, boom, I'll pick it up and I'm always ready, So I kind of like, do that a lot. If that's the situation and we're rehearsing something or we're doing something towards like a rehearsal or something like that. A game though, a football game or anything like that, you're constantly going. So there is no, and at that point, you're just going. You're looking for the stuff, you're looking for the action, and you're moving on.
Now, let me ask you, in doing what you've done with Steadicam, you've built relationships with some of the best directors in the business, doing the biggest shows. Like, how is it working with those guys? How is it
These
having those
guys are
relationships
great. I
and
mean,
trust? You know what I
honestly,
mean?
that's where I get the emotion because these are the people that give you these opportunities. And I mean, going back, I mean, from the start of my career, I was fortunate enough, like I said, with Bucky Gunts and Doug Graybert, and I mean Joe Michaels in the studios, and Bob Levy, Drew Esikoff, I mean Steve Bime, who I love to death. I mean, there's the list goes on. I mean, Rich Russo and Fox and Mike Arnold at CBS and Bob Mateen. I mean, we could just go on and on.
They're
Pierre.
all
I mean,
those are
I'm
all
just
like
gonna drop.
legends and great
I'm
guys
gonna
in this
name drop.
business.
You know what I mean? All these great guys, all these great directors, and Corey Newby and Nelly. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It really does.
Yeah.
I could just sit here and just run off names. But I've been fortunate enough to be, where they like my work and they bring me on, and with that there's becomes an appreciation. And so what do you want to do? You want to work really hard for these people and you want to give them your all. And I'm not a guy that like for me, I can't just I'm all in. Like I am all in. When you drop the puck or whatever you want to call it, it's like that's it. We're playing. I feel like I'm an athlete. I feel like I'm in the game right now. Like really, and I'm looking and I'm running and and there's no holding back.
I
If
I
I'm
I
hurt,
I
I'm going. I don't care.
I feel that energy for football when I used to do handheld on the field, and I guess with
Right?
Steadicam, because being Steadicam or handheld, you're always field level. You're in it. You're
Yeah.
in that atmosphere, and it's a great. There's no. I mean, it's the best view of any event or sporting event to be there, right in front of it.
Right.
It's like the best seat in the house. So it's nice, and it's always. I've always felt like as a handheld guy doing my thing, I love it when that red light comes on and I'm the show because that's it. That's what we're doing it for, right? I want to be the show. I want to have that look. Every guy knows his. Like everybody knows their tape machine because they want to know what they hear their replays and stuff like that. They always like to see how it works. Like to see your work. You want to see your rollout. Let me talk to you about. Let's get into some of the other things. Like what rig are you actually working? Are you a Steadicam? Are you what are you? Because I know Mantac, who I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, he's got
I
the
have.
rubber band rig now.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's playing with that rubber band
Oh,
rig
with
for
the
him.
arm?
Yeah, with the
Oh,
rubber band, and he interchanges rubber bands on it.
oh, you know what? It's funny you say that because I was just looking at that at the halftime Super Bowl show this year when I was doing when we were doing that.
Why
So
somebody had
one of
one?
the Trinity guys has that, and
Well,
it
he
was
said, I said, I said, why do you want to use it with rubber bands? He goes, it's 5 pounds lighter,
it's
and
lighter.
and it won't, and it's more weather resistant. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about the rust of the springs and everything else. I'm like, all right, it makes sense. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
5 pounds makes a difference for a Steadicam, right?
big difference when you're running around chasing these young guys. Oh yeah, if you want good shots, you got to try to get out in front of these guys, and you can only last for so long because once they put on the jets, goodbye. So
so, so, so
you
tell me
know,
what is on your rig then? What is your rig? What is your rig
so
that
I
you?
have a couple of rigs, and I have the XES, which I love to death. Greg Bubb, who's who developed that
So
rig.
so
I
what's the
have the
rig?
Pro Arm. I
What's
have
the
the
one I'm
Pro.
showing you right now? What is this one? Is it because this looks like an older one? Right? Because this is a younger you. I can tell that.
Oh, I don't see
Oh
it.
wait,
But is it the
wait.
Tiffin? Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you
Well,
go.
that was the first one. Yeah, that was the Steady. That was the Tiffin. That was an Ultra. That's a long time. That I think that's like 2005.
Are you so? Oh yeah. So are you still using that? Not you got rid of that vest and the whole rig on that one?
Yeah, the whole thing. Well,
Yeah.
I talked to Tori, and Tori said, "Rich, this is what you want to go with," and I went with what Tori had.
Oh yeah. Is this what? So this is what you?
This is it. Yeah.
That's what you're
Uh,
rolling with now.
this
What is?
I'm still rolling with the XES. I have a new XES. I have two of them. I keep, and I roll with both of those. Yeah, and I love them. They're great rigs. I mean, for me, there's everybody has their own preferences, and everybody has different rigs, but I really love that rig.
Is there any kind of like so when you
It's a
have your
heavier one. You lose on that end. Kind of, it's a 2-inch post. It's got heavy electronics at the bottom, but I mean, it's like it's you can use it like a hammer. You know what I mean? It gets banged into, and I never have a problem. Knock
and you
on wood.
and you feel more comfortable with a rig that has a little bit of the weight. So like, will 5 pounds matter to you that much? Are you doing anything to your rig to lighten it up because you have it? You have the heavier base to it.
Well, you got to put on what they want you to put on. I mean, they've added weight, and for me for the last few years, with these HDR cameras, those got heavier, and I do a super slow mo, so they wanted the super slow motion on my Steadicam, which is amazing because you get amazing shots. Um, but yeah, it's it is what it is. The rig is it's I don't know what it is. It probably weighs about 40, 45. I'd say 40 pounds or so.
So
40, 45 pounds.
you're always RF then on these things now, then,
RF,
right?
yes. It used to be cable. I used to be cabled a lot, and when I first started in golf, and studio shows, you were cabled. But doing these sports, yeah, no, we're RF, which is great because you can do anything when you're RF. You got the free, you have freedom to get great shots.
So what is do you have a favorite event that you've done, or is there something on your calendar that you always like that like, oh, because I'm going to be doing this and I like doing it? Are there events that you look for? I mean, everybody enjoys what they do, but are there some that
Yeah.
are?
Yeah, it's hard. That's a hard one. I mean, I was involved with a lot of Olympics and stuff like that. I love doing the Olympics. I did some opening ceremonies, and those were really fun.
You
Super
didn't go
Bowl.
this time, huh? You didn't want to go to Italy this
No, I
time?
haven't. No, I went in 1988. That was my first one, and I stopped in Rio, and I haven't been back.
I've never had a chance to do it. I kind of regretted that I didn't pursue it. I was young with a kid. I mean, a younger guy with young kids, and it was like, uh, the commitment to going away for that long was
That's
not
what it
something
is.
not something the wife would have been super super happy about. I mean, when I
Yeah,
first got the opportunity to work a Super Bowl, that was like 15 days away. That was probably the longest time I had ever spent away from my wife and kids. In that since I was married, so it was wild. But my wife was understanding in doing, what she understood my career, what I was doing, and that it was good for me to get that opportunity, and it wasn't as bad. but I don't know. Like Olympics, it's a big commitment to
It's
do it.
long.
So you did a couple of them, huh? That's a lot.
Yeah, like I said, I've done the winter, the summer and the winter from '88 all the way to Rio, in Brazil up to that one, and then I've stopped because I was doing other things, and I just didn't want to be. That was exactly right. Away from the kids. You're away from them long enough, and then summers and stuff like that, and the kids are getting older, and I said, I can't. I'm going to stay home. This is I've done enough and I've done a lot. And, maybe I'll go back because now the kids are getting older, to be quite honest with you. So, yeah, but there was that time I'm like, nah, my little guy, he
But
wanted me to be around.
what venues did you do? Because I always feel like with the Olympics, everybody says like for Summer Olympics, you don't want to do track and field because if you do track and field, you're going to work your ass off because there's always something going on. There's a guy running, there's a guy jumping, there's a guy going to be throwing something, jumping over something. You're going to have to run all over.
Bucky Guns, I love the guy to death. He got me involved with the beach volleyball.
Oh, that's a good venue, dude. I can't complain about that one.
Yeah, that was just a lot of fun. I used to work in the studios with him, so I was doing a lot of studio work. I was on the primetime studio show, and then when he said, "Hey, when Bucky came to me and he was like, Rich, there's going to be a great venue. It's going to be a pretty big sport. It's going to be one of the A-listed venues now we're going to be seeing, and there's great accommodation." He was just like he was so kind to me with that, and I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "Yeah," and so and I did it, and I stuck with it. And I was doing that.
Were you not wanting to do it because like I know those studio shows are usually the longest shifts of all of them because you
No,
have to be on the air when everybody's starting the events and then you got to come in at the end and recap all the things that happened. You know what I mean?
no, I loved it. I loved my time doing that. And then when I was able to get out of the studio and then go do the beach volleyball, I just loved that too. Like I was always kind of a positive, happy guy to just go wherever. But it was I was fortunate enough to get on a really good venue, to be honest with you. That was a great one. Enjoyed it. Who doesn't want to see volleyball and, be on the sand and, it was great. And there was some, I mean, Misty May and they were winning the gold every year with some great, great events, Yeah,
What countries? What countries did you do when you did it? Then what countries were you in?
As far as the Olympics.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, geez. I was in Korea. I went to Spain in '92. What was after that? I think that was '96 was Atlanta. I did. And then, once we did winter, it was like Salt Lake City. I was in Australia. I was in China. I was in Italy. I was, where else did we go? We went,
That's all that, I mean,
I was in London.
You a million miler yet? Are you a million miler?
Oh,
I mean,
almost 2 million.
where was this one
Oh,
at?
that was in Egypt. I went to, I mean, now that was something. We did a show there. I was down, we went down in the tunnels with the tombs of, in Egypt, putting on a show. It was amazing.
Really?
Oh
Wow.
yeah, yeah. We
So,
we were escorted around with military and everything. We stayed on the Nile River on a ship, and we did a show. Yeah,
how'd you get a booking for that? An Egypt booking. Hey, I
that
need a
was
Steadicam guy in by
well.
the
You
Great
know
Pyramid.
what?
You available?
Steve Bime directed that show. We did a live event, and he asked me to do it. So that was from again a director who's one of the greatest
You build
directors.
relationships, and that's what happens. They're fruitful.
Yeah,
There's trust. You have an understanding with him, a working relationship. You give him what he wants, he knows, and then it leads to so many opportunities, man. That is such an incredible. Like you've seen the world, you've traveled so much. Is there stuff that you want? Is there places you haven't traveled yet that you want to go? Or
no, there's places. I mean, I've been to Spain and London, and I've been to a lot of places. I mean, yeah, there'd be some cool places I haven't been to, Prague and things like that. If work calls for it, but I'm pretty content. I feel like I've been places, and I'm grateful for the places that I've been to, and I've been fortunate enough to go to all these places and be a part of amazing stuff, really amazing, amazing things, you know, amazing events, opening ceremonies, and yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, you've really it is incredible to see the it's you've been doing it for many years, many different events, Super
yeah,
Bowls, horse racing. Uh, that's even you on the jumbotron, huh? That's really fun.
yeah, that's YouTube stuff and everything. Yeah, you know, it's like, oh, somebody's always sending me this stuff. You know, like all the people that I know, they'll text me things. Hey, and you know, it's kind to these guys. You know, like everybody that kind of looks out. Hey, Rich, and you know, I appreciate them sharing. And yeah, I just hold on to these
Yeah,
things.
I know.
I'm
It's
not a
like
big picture taker, honestly. Like, and you know, I sometimes I kick myself. I'm like, man, you know, like you should take pictures of like where you at, and I don't do it enough.
I know.
But
It's funny. I don't do. You're right. I don't do that kind of thing neither. And that's kind of another reason why I kind of told you earlier why I'm doing this stuff is because I want to document the stories from the people who inspired me to do what I'm doing. And you were one of those guys. So for me,
oh,
talking to you and hearing
that's
about
cool, man.
all these things and seeing you know, like that inspired me. It still inspires me to want to do more and do different things. You know what I mean? You're
Hmm.
just so good at what you're doing, and
Thank
I
you.
feel like you're constantly raising the bar on it. You and Cornelli, because you both you guys are you know just what I call the working man. You know what I mean? Like the union work ethic is you go in there to do a job, you do the job. You just want to do the job because it's where our value is, right? As a
Right.
union workforce, our value is a listen. We're not just you know this is
Oh,
skilled
you know
labor.
what? You know, I've always respected, you know, working for somebody. You know, my dad and my mom, when I was in sixth grade, I've had a job since I've been in the sixth grade. Honestly, my mom knew somebody that was able. She knew somebody that owned a driving range, and I was out there working. She knew somebody that owned a deli. I worked in the deli when I was in seventh and eighth. I always had a part-time job. So when I was fortunate enough, you know, working in auto parts, I always had a job since sixth grade, like something. I was doing something to earn money. And when I was able to get this job, I was such, you know, to be able to make some really good money. You know, it I respected it, and and the people that I worked for, I just really wanted to do the best I can and show, like, yeah, I'm going to work hard for you because you feel you're paying me to do something. You know what I mean? And so I always had that mindset, like, you know what, I'm gonna kill it for these guys because they're giving me this opportunity to, you know, to feed me. Yeah, if
Well,
you
I
want to.
think also because your dad was in the industry and your uncle was in the industry, you knew the value of the union card. You knew the value of being into this work. If you're going to make a commitment to join that, I mean, when did it mean like you moved back to New York, right, for that job at 30 Rock because
Right.
it kind of meant getting a union card, right?
Yeah, well, I was going to be permanent with NBC. It was 4 months. I got on the you know, I worked so long. What they did back then is you were vacation relief. You worked so long, then they would break you. And if they brought you back that second time, that means you were going to be on a list to become permanent. If they didn't want you, you weren't coming back. And you worked as a vacation relief, they broke you, you never came back. But the fact that they put me back on the list to come back meant that I was going to become a staff employee. My manager came in and said, in 4 months, you're going to be permanent. In those 4 months, in those 4 months, General Electric bought out RCA and came in. We went on strike, and there was no more permanent employees no more. I missed it by 4 months becoming a staff employee at NBC.
Wow, you know that's kind of a crazy thing because like that really that's a pivotal change in your career then. Like that thing if you're a staff guy at NBC, which they are, I mean there are guys you had a picture with Foxy, Rick Fox, great
Right.
guy.
Brian
Um,
Frainer, another
Brian
mentor of
Frainer,
mine,
awesome
great
guy. They're
guy.
phenomenal guys in this business, phenomenal careers. But that would have been you, or if you know, you probably I think you probably would have had a chance at a CBS staff job if you stayed at any of these places because your work was that good and it was recognized as that level. But
You
would
know,
you?
I was loyal to NBC. I was so young. I was just loyal, and I was just so happy to be working. And it didn't matter. You know, I went from camera to come back and do videotape, and I was like working in the library, and it never even crossed my mind, like, you know, oh no, I want to do camera. I was just happy to be working. To be honest with you, I was not thinking at that time, like, you know. as time went on, yes, like I came out and I said, all right, now we went on strike. I'm out. I'm going on the road. And my uncle Corey and my dad said, hey, there's an opportunity to come out and do golf, but you're going to do utility work. You're going to be my guy holding the RF, for the handheld. And I was like, great. I was like, again, I was just so happy to go out there and do that. And then that led into me doing camera. And there was so many staff guys, there was no openings. And Bucky Gunst, the director, guys were starting to retire. He said, Richie, if you can follow the golf balls, man, you're gonna have you'll have a job here. And on my lunchtime, I'd be up in those hard cameras in those towers following the golf balls. And Bucky used to like to drive the golf course while everybody was on lunch. They would on my lunch, I'd go up there and I'd try to follow these. And Bucky would drive around. He would just look at the course, the cameras. That's when he went around just to get an idea of what he was going to direct that day as everybody came back. And he'd see me up there and he'd look at me and I go, hey, what's up, Buck? And he'd go, you got it yet? And I'd go, no, not yet, Buck. And it'd be come on, no, not yet. No, not yet. No. I go, I got it. You got it? I go, I got it. And then I did. And I was nervous wreck when I got that red light and that guy was out in the fairway and I had to follow that ball up in the air and bring it to the green, live on air. It was a good nervous feeling.
Oh my God. That first time it had, I mean, I remember it too. I was a handheld doing golf. I did some CBS golf when they were they did New York here, and I was doing handheld. And let's talk a little bit about the golf handheld, because golf handheld is really unique in how it works, because you're kind of leapfrogging. You're going from tee box to green, jumping from here to here, and you're not always following the same groups. Always.
Well, that's different. No, different networks did it different. So with NBC, you did get stuck. You did get a group. CBS liked to leapfrog. Golf Channel liked to leapfrog. So everybody had their system of how they were going to do the coverage out there. But you're right. I did both. I did the leapfrog system, and you're assigned with that group, go. And then when that group was maybe, going down in the hole, or, you'd move to another group. They would move you to another group and you would stick with that group, So, but the leapfrogging is, you had a system too with that. And, you had to know where you were going, and, you basically waited for that group to come through your hole. And that meant go back and then go to your next hole, go to your next position. There was always a move group, is what they called it, and when that group came up, you would move.
I'm always fascinated by the, what I call the non-horizons, the sports that are not left to right, like baseball and golf are not happening left to right. Like football, basketball, those are all happening left to right in play. Golf, anywhere, shots are anywhere. Baseball, shots are anywhere. So positioning matters. Where you put cameras, and then hearing you talk about how Bucky drove the course prior to broadcast to kind of see where people would be, eye out greens and bunkers to see where, so he would give you, that's interesting to me, because I'm fascinated to see how guys work and why they do things, especially the directors, because like you said, you've worked with two handfuls of great directors. Seeing how, and I've had my chance to work with some really, Russo, Mike Arnold, all those guys, phenomenal directors, and seeing how they work and their way and understanding what they want, and speaking their language, it takes time to figure that out. But in golf, it's always, it's difficult. You know what I mean? It was always harder to figure out, because, you have to, especially it's different. Like each system has its pluses.
Right. You have to position yourself to know that, you go out in the fairway, you have to know that if it goes in the trees, you're even going to follow it in the trees without handcuffing yourself. And you have to put yourself in a position knowing that, all right, if I go left and have to pan left with this thing, I'm going to be okay. You know what I mean? I'm not going to just hit a wall or a tree and I can't see it. So you kind of went out there. You wanted to make sure you weren't coming up short. You're better to be a little deeper than shorter, so that nothing goes over your head. And if it did, you'd have to do a little side follow. And some of those guys did that. Some of the long ones, if there was 2 long hitters out of like 30 guys, and you were going to do that move. You were going to just go up and over and then, and follow it, knowing it was going to happen. But
But it's funny, so even though you were doing handheld, your first opportunity to do golf was on a hard camera on a tower.
It was, yeah. And Brian Frainer was a big mentor to me up on the hard camera, up on those towers. Yes.
Yeah,
I
that's a good
started
mentor to
there.
have, man. He's a great guy, man. Great guy.
Great guy. Yeah.
I mean, another guy who's probably, he's a quiet guy. Been doing his thing for 40 years now. 40 years at NBC, man. I mean, there are some guys, Rick Fox,
Rick
guys,
Fox, I love him. Oh my
yeah,
God.
guys who had
He's,
they're guys in our business because our business has changed. In the like you've seen it. Your father and other guys had 30, 40-year careers in this business with one network. You know what I mean? It's not, not
these are
many
the guys.
people
These are
now.
the guys I learned from, man. These are the guys I all learned from. There's so many guys I can name, and there's too many, and they're all pros.
But
You
those
know,
careers, the careers are not like that now. Like you still like you missed out on the staff job, but do you think if you did get it,
but
you
you
would have
know
been a
what?
40-year guy?
But you know what? Life is great, man. And missing out on the staff job gave me an opportunity to freelance and do other things and work with other people, meet other people in the business. I got to meet a lot of people, that are in this business because I was able to move around to the different networks and fortunate enough to do that. So, it allowed me to move to Florida. I probably wouldn't have been able to move to Florida. I would have stuck in New York. Not that I love New York. It's my home and it's the best place on earth, but yeah, it allowed me to move and get into, I was in the local market in Florida. I started doing the Heat and the Panthers and, all that stuff with traveling and things like that. And so,
Do you still try to do that? I mean, so that's interesting because if you're living in Florida, you can work the local market, but you were doing a lot of your work traveling. Most of your work was traveling.
I was traveling, but when I came home, if I happened to be off a week or something, I'd let the crew know, and then they'd throw 3 hockey games in there, a Marlins game or a Panthers game. No, you'd go right to work, and they put you to work,
So
and then
where's home for you now? Do you work your local
I'm in
market?
California. I'm in Los Angeles.
Do you
We
work your
came
local?
here.
You work your local market in LA too now or no?
No, no, I don't. No. With the Steadicam, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be, working, and I'm on certain gigs that I've been doing now for a while, between the golf and the NFL and,
Well,
yeah.
Tori does a little bit of the entertainment stuff. You never tried to jump in and do a little entertainment stuff too, the music or any of those.
You know what? When I did move down here, Tori did. He got me on some stuff. I did MTV Music Awards, and he got me on the video and the BET Awards, but he's the one that actually, because I came here twice. I came here the second time because of my daughter's career with singing, but I did come down here and. I was getting work. I was doing, like a lot of I was doing these tonight, James Corbin, he'd get, I'd go in the studio there and do Steadicam. I would do like some E&G on soaps and I'd take my Steadicam out and be like at a house in Beverly Hills. And I'd do some Steadicam work on some soap operas, some entertainment. Yes. I worked and down in Vegas at the Wynn and, I did some of the entertainment. But with that, I never stopped doing the sports. And sports they would call you and want to book you way more in advance than the entertainment. Entertainment was like, they'd wait. Hey, can you work next week? I'm like, oh, I was already booked. Because sports they do it so far. So it really was hard for me to really cross over because I was committing to sports, knowing I had to pay bills and work rather than sit around and wait and if it's going to come or not. So it was kind of a tough transition.
Now, was that something you thought about becoming a Steadicam operator? Because obviously, the work is going to be different. You're going to have your clients. You're going to have to figure out your calendar. You're going to have to limit how you do things. You're going to there's shipping. There's gear rental. How do you work?
Yeah.
It's not as easy as becoming a daily hire. You know what I mean? It's you're a
Right.
businessman now, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, you get on these gigs, and you know what? The next thing you know, you're working them. You get on this, you get on football, you get on. As long as you're doing a good job and they love you, they bring you back.
Now,
and that's kind of been. Oh, yeah, and so this year, this is what I own now. I own a Scorpio crane, a telescopic crane. I own that vehicle, that mobile vehicle right there, electric vehicle, and that's a telescopic crane. So I'm starting to do some of that.
What is your business name? What do you go
That's
on?
Bird's Eye Cranes and Camera.
Bird's eye is you bird's eye
Bird's
crane.
eye, one
And so,
word,
but is
crane.
that your Steadicam work too, or your Steadicam work
No,
just?
steady motion production. So that is two separate, actually. Yeah. And this is me at the Indy 500 operating the crane last year at the Indy.
And so that what is
That
that?
was Fox. That worked with Brian
That's one of the
Lipke,
ones that's one of the
another
ones that
great director.
it goes from what to what, like 10 to what is it? What
That's
is the
50 foot.
range?
That goes to 50 feet. Yeah. 19 to 50 feet.
That's wild. That's wild. So like, oh my god. So how do you, is that a lot to ship? How is that shipped?
That you drive that. So a truck and trailer.
Oh, so
Yeah,
you got to
that's
pack it in.
that goes up into a trailer. We tie it down, and all that gear goes in a yeah. I own a trailer, a triple axle trailer that that goes in, and you drive it. You have to drive it. Yeah, you're not that's the shipping.
So
Driving it.
is that the plan now? Is the plan for Richie Leible to then eventually like not do as much Steadicam and be the guy managing this gear and the other stuff and renting out for bigger shows and having other? Do you want to expand
I
this
got
fleet of other stuff?
you know what? I got into that. I was so I love what we do, right? So I love the Steadicam. I love the competitiveness of taking on something different. It's like change. Change is good, and I love Steadicam, and I'm going to continue to do that till I can't do it no more. I mean, I feel good. I feel young. I stay in shape, and I'm going to keep running till I can't run no more. But the thing is, with the crane, when doing these halftime Super Bowl shows, and I got to see that out there, I said, "Wow, this thing is super cool." The movement, the shots it was getting. And then honestly, I thought about, wow, what a way to get this into sports. This thing would look incredible. Like it's they use this on feature films, and it's a lot of feature work, and they use it a lot in entertainment.
So
And
I
I
see
said,
this.
why don't we do
It
this in
looks like there's
sports?
one behind you. There's two of them there.
Yeah. So this is my company right here. Yeah. So we had three there, and we're gonna have three this year, and we're gonna run it back. But it's just, this is a NASCAR event in Chicago. We did a movie. We did Bad Boys in Miami. I got on a couple of features. I worked with Morgan Freeman down in Mississippi, and I worked on Gunslingers with Nicolas Cage in Kentucky with this gear. You know,
So
but
that's kind of been a fun new thing for you then to have a different feel to then work in. Are you liking doing the crane work and playing with
it's fun.
it's
It's
different,
really
right?
cool. Yeah, no, it's really cool. I mean, because what that thing can do is just amazing, and the speed of it, the way it telescopes out and swings around, and I mean, yeah, it's like very like theatrical. I mean, like the shots you can get on that is amazing. Really. I mean, you really can. And I want to try to get into sports. I just think I do see it in a lot of places in certain areas. Operating a Steadicam and camera for a long time, you develop. Obviously, we all develop like a good eye for where things can be and placed. And I saw that. I said, wow, this thing would be great here and it would be great there. And, now I'm just trying to see, if we can get it out on certain things, to be quite honest with you. It's
Well, that's what it takes. I mean, there's always something. I feel like there's been certain things that have been uh, not trends, but things that all of a sudden become like the shallow depth of field, the high speed frame rate cameras.
Mhm.
The Skycam when it first showed up on
Right,
it was a whole big thing. All these things. Steadicam was innovative
right.
when Barrett first came out. There's all these different things until somebody showcases their use and how they're done, which is and you're the guy perfect guy to kind of showcase, with your experience. I'm sure behind the wheels and the joysticks on those things, it's got to be a good time.
It is. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's good, and you can get creative, and as long as your director's on board, and we work that out. It could be spectacular. Really, really can.
What else do you think is the biggest changes to the industry? What's in the future? Like, are you what do you? I mean, I guess AI is what people. But I don't think as a Steadicam operator you're worried about an AI guy taking your. But what are the other things that you think? Are you thinking the rigs are going to get smaller? The cameras are going to get
No,
bigger?
you would think they would, right? But they get heavier. because they're getting more technology and they're putting more technology into the cameras. Like the P50, that was a lighter camera. It was a P2. They were lighter, but now that you add the HDR in there and more technologies going inside the camera, it's adding more weight. Now we want super slow mo, so now you've just added more weight. So just when I'm getting used to running around at a certain thing and feeling the weight, you just added weight. And I'm like, oh, now I got to put this extra weight on and try to keep up that same speed. You just added weight. So I don't see.
And
I
are
don't know
you a Mo?
why we're not there. I
Are
don't know
you a
why.
Mo? Are you a 6-time Mo for as a on your RF?
I got the super slow mo on there. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff on our show on Sunday night that they replay back on Mo.
How many years you been
Steady.
on the Sunday night? How many years you been on that Sunday night show? You've been
You,
on it
you,
for a
you know
long time, right?
when Zach retires, when I got my I don't know. I'd have to really I don't know exactly. It's been a little while. It's been a while now. You
No,
know.
oh yes, yeah. Zach was on it for a long time.
Yeah, and then I took over Zach, and Zach, he started it all, man. You know what I mean? In sports, he's the guy. He's the OG, if that's what you want to say,
Yeah,
of sports Steadicam. I remember when Zach used to come out and do
Zach
golf.
and his wife are both like Hall
And
of Fame.
Dina, yeah, oh yeah, and Dina.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Zach's great. I was just working with him now at the Super Bowl. He put his Steadicam back on, man. Yeah,
Oh, he
it was
did
really
really.
cool. He did. Yeah, he did. It was great to see him. And yeah, so yeah, I don't think it's getting lighter. I don't know why. To be quite honest with you, we got to talk to the guys over at Sony, and
Yeah.
Canon and all of these guys. Like, come on, guys.
I don't know if they're ever going to figure that part of it out. I mean, they have those different. I just I will say this: I don't believe that the Ronin and these other little gimbal things are the same as a Steadicam. They're
No, it's
similar
not.
tools. They're
And
not.
I've worked with both of them. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Steadicam operator. I just know the mobility that I have with a Steadicam that you cannot do with a Mobi. So if you're okay with just getting those shots, what they can get, that's okay. But if you want a little more and like you want to get a Steadicam because you can operate different. You can't. It's hard to go backwards with things like this. You can't run forwards and hold these things like this, and then you're looking at a different monitor, zoom controls, and everything. Steadicam is all in your hand. It's all meant to be. It's just like you can move around, you can circle, you can run faster. Running backwards we call Don Juan. I mean, just that alone is a bit. You can zoom in and actually hold a good frame. While you're running. If you want something tight, like you can do more. You know what I mean? You can. I just know because I've operated both, and I know.
Do you think the same? Do you think the same could be said for like obviously the jib and the cranes with the thing?
So
They're just different tools used
they're different
differently.
tools. Now the crane to me is it telescopes, right? So now you have that movement of telescoping, which I think is great. You don't have something just at the end of the jib or and it's fixed. It's just fixed here. With the telescoping, you can go on a tighter spot. So you can come to 19 feet and go to 50. If you use a jib at 23, you're at 23. You can't come back, so you gain no room if you need the space, and you can't go any further. So you're locked in at that position. Plus the movement in the camera. It's like a Steadicam. If I'm walking with a Steadicam, it's coming at you, and the speed of that telescope. I don't know if you've been behind a telescopic
No,
crane.
I've worked.
Amazing.
I remember like years and years ago, Fox for like one season, and Mario Zecco will probably remember this to tell you the same thing. One season for Fox, they they got rid of a cart, a Far Side
Mhm.
cart,
Yeah.
and they hired the guys that did the Oscars to do this crane camera for, and it was Sandy Grossman, I think, who did it, and it was the right gear, but the wrong people doing it. these entertainment guys were not sports guys.
Yeah,
Not the
that
right, and that's probably why
exact.
it did fail. You know what I mean? That's
You're
probably why it's
absolutely
not being
correct.
used on sports now because it wasn't the right guy doing it. Like you're the right guy doing it.
Exactly. You're right. Exactly that. And this is, it's funny you say that because this is why I went to do this, because I said, you know what? I just know, in this is what I do. I do sports, right? I've done a couple of feature films, but it's just something I wholeheartedly believe in with this thing. And I would have never got involved with it if I didn't think it would be great. I'd be like, no way. I didn't just get it to get it. I get it because I saw what it could do. And I was so amazed. I saw the pictures and I was like, wow, this can do so much. But I think, yeah, I think it could be. I think you put it in NFL, you put it up in the Mez, you come over crowds, sweeping and telescoping and set the scene. I think you can set the scene with these things. I think at horse racing, you know,
I was thinking college
like
football right off the bat when you said
oh,
set the
college
scene.
football, my God, and the height of this thing and what it can do, it's pretty incredible. I'm not trying to sell it here, but I'm just saying I just love it that much that I just I get into it. It's just I
So
just love
I
it.
mean, I love that you get excited about this stuff still. Like
Yeah, I do,
you've been
man.
doing it so long, but you're still pumped about it because you want to see. That's the thing. Your excitement about the work is like so inspiring because that's what you can't lose. If you're going to be like you have to go into every job realizing that the work will sometimes be difficult, the weather conditions. You're sitting here smiling and laughing, but I've seen your ass busting your butt in horrible conditions doing. It's not glamorous. It's not the glamorous job you think it is. You're sitting in your son's nice studio in LA.
Yeah,
It's great.
right,
Everything
right,
looks
right.
great. But when you're out
We're
there, running the
yeah.
field, it's not so great.
We're all out in the elements, and everybody that's on these shows. I mean, these guys are so good. All these hard camera guys and handhelds, and from people in the trucks to, I mean, you're dealing. These are like A class, top notch people. It's amazing. Like I don't have to
Yeah, I know,
like to
but
put on a
that's why
show, man.
that's
I
why there's so much. That's why there's camaraderie and respect. Even though you think we're all freelancers, we're all like in theory competing for work, but because we all want our phones to ring. But it's really not like that. We really enjoy
it's a team, man.
the collaborative work environment.
It definitely takes a team to make it a great show, great pictures, man.
That,
Skycam, hard cameras. These guys are incredible. You know what I mean? The ISOs that they have, you can't miss anything. When we see things that can decide a game, that guy's got it tight on the line. You know what I mean? I mean, just every camera everywhere, and guys recording and replaying and graphics go. It takes great people, and there are a lot of great people in this business. And
well,
again,
we talked a little bit about mentorship, and you said you had some mentors. Let's end this. Let's talk about the mentorship. I mean, what was it like? Do you were helped? You said you talked. Who was it who helped you really? Who was a mentor to you?
my uncle Corey,
Corey
because
was big.
my dad was in the trucks. He was an editor, so he was buried inside editing and editing and editing. But of course, I wouldn't be here and doing and have that work ethic without my dad. Number one, I learned. But Corey was a top guy. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame cameraman. Started all of this. He's one of the pioneers of all of this.
What's he?
Corey.
What's he doing now?
He's passed.
He passed. When did
Yeah,
he
he
pass?
passed. He passed probably about 7 years ago. Yeah, 7 or 8 years ago now. But yeah, he was a big mentor, and he was great at what he did, and so I learned so much from him. Just where to be, angles, how to just carry myself as a human being out working and stuff like that. He was a serious guy. He was a hard worker. He marched on like he were in the army. Like there was no like I'm thirsty, Corey. That's all right. You'll get a drink when it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were
No, he didn't.
camels
He
out
didn't.
there. It was
I love
it was
guys like that.
all
They don't
about the
suffer
work,
fools
man. It
lightly.
was
They just do their thing. But you know,
No.
but that made an impression on you. That right? That
Yeah,
mattered.
that made a huge impression on me because that's what I followed all of that. You know, it's all about the work, and you know, you're like your producer. You're a producer out there. You know, the good directors that bring you along and producers, they know that you got to look for this stuff. You know, like you in live TV, you know, the moment comes and goes. You don't have long to find something maybe really cool and maybe capture that moment and get it and now you just produced your own story out there with your camera and the directors and the producers loving it because now we're telling stories. You're telling stories with the camera, so you're constantly looking, where can I find a story, where can I find a story, you know.
That's
And
it. You know, it's so funny you say that. That's exactly what I tell my students. I'm in my classroom now. In about 5 minutes, the kids are going to come in here, and I'm going to
yeah,
teach my sports production class. And that's exactly what I tell them. We're learning how to be storytellers. If you're
yeah,
going to get into sports, you're telling stories. We call them heroes and goats. It's stories. It's the leading man. It's all of that. It's all of
it
that
could be it
drama.
could be as simple as a guy wrapping his ankle on the sidelines, but it's an important guy and he's getting, you know, he's doing something that nobody's seeing, but you got a moment to maybe shoot that and then tell a story. And the producer will maybe want to play it back and go, hey, look, he's doing, yeah, I'm just giving an example. But like things like that, you know, nobody can see that. You know, you're looking for things, you know, you're always looking to see what you can, you know, like that's just a story in football. It's like, for instance, but you know, it's everything. It's whatever. You know, you're
It's
the
learning how to.
eyes. You're the eyes out
It's.
there.
But it's funny because you talk about your eyes, but you develop your eyes, and then you develop your ears. You know, you got to
Mm-hmm.
listen. You have to learn how to listen and be part of that collaborative team. You know, that's what makes you better at what you do. It's not, you know, you're gonna you're gonna learn the basics, composition, framing, and all that stuff. But then listening, other people have a shot. You don't have to have that shot. You can find your other shot. You got to, you know, work your glass, your lens. You're part of your team doing what you do. You know.
And you follow the announcers, right? We all know that. That's like you know that's kind of basic stuff right there. You know what they're talking about. If we can find what they're talking about, and that's director basically does. You know, and so where you know it all gets passed down, right? They talk. Director's looking for it. We're the guys that got to feed it to give it to him so he could take it and you know it's a whole team. It's a big team effort, man. So yeah.
Well, I we're gonna end this soon. I just want to find out what's next. What's next on the calendar? What gig are you? What's
I'm
your
going to
next
the
gig?
NFL Combine. I'm going to head there Monday.
Oh, I think you. I think Mario's probably heading to that too. You
Yeah,
want to see
yeah, yeah.
Mario there
Mario's going to
for
be
that
there.
stuff.
Yeah, I'll see
Yeah.
Mario. Yeah, it'll be great.
Is
We'll
that
have some good
where
time.
is it this year?
It's in Indianapolis. It's been there, and I think maybe after this year it might start changing, but it's in Indianapolis. And yeah, that's where they've been having this for a while now.
How many days are you going to go down for?
I'll be down there for a week, Monday to Monday. I'll
That's good.
travel Monday and travel home Monday, and then I'm home a few days, and then I go out to Ponte Vedra, Florida, for in Jacksonville for the Players Championship golf, and I'll do that.
So you still do a lot of golf. Who are you doing? You golf? You doing CBS? Which golf are you doing?
I do live
NBC?
golf. I do
Oh, you like
NBC.
live?
I do the live. I do NBC golf. I'll do the Masters with CBS. You know, I still do that. Yeah. So
So
I still work with them.
your calendar is golf, football, and then you sprinkle in.
Horse racing. I do the
Oh,
Derby with NBC, Kentucky Derby. I'll do Fox at Belmont. Work that. Indy with Fox, and yeah. And I do I do a little music in July. And that's real. Yeah. What
and
else?
and
And the
and what
draft. I'll do the NFL draft. We got that coming up.
man? You know what? I hope we get a chance to cross paths again and work together again because I really I need that spark in my life. I need to see you working again next to me on a headset and running around doing stuff and to remind me like this guy is chasing it and I gotta still chase it, man. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate
No,
it.
thank you. I appreciate it, man.
No, man.
Thank you so much, man.
Your stories, your career, going through what you've gone through, helping people understand that there's a work ethic, that it matters, that every relationship that you have, every job that you have, even if it's a shit show, you can recover, you can get something valuable from it. There's an
Yeah,
experience, a learned
it's a
lesson.
great way to say it. You're right. Yeah.
There's always something of value that you can take away from every job that you do. And then once you start stacking them, that's the experience that you need to really make something in this business.
Yeah.
You have
It's
done
like
that.
it could be a high school game. I'm going to treat it like it's a football, an NFL game. It doesn't matter, you know.
Because you're a pros pro, man. That's what it's about. You're a pros pro.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of pros out there. There's a lot of pros out there.
No, there are a lot of guys that are leading the way, man. But I like that. You know, I want to achieve that. I want to be somebody that somebody says to me one day, hey, you know what? I watched you work. I see what you were doing, and I wanted to do it because of what you got into. Come on in. Let's do. You're allowed to come in here. I got stuff showing up for my class. It's great. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's cool, man. You got your own little studio down there, or what?
Well, I teach a course at Pace University. Teach my sports production class, and so I used to do it on Mondays, and now I'm doing it on Thursdays at 5 o'clock and so at 6 o'clock. So I do this now before an hour before. So this is the first time I actually pulled it off live on the Behind the Broadcast YouTube channel. Thank you, Parker, for your support. Parker has been an amazing guy supporting me in my effort to do this. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Parker. Richie, I can't thank you enough for doing this, man. I really appreciate
thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
No, and I know you've inspired more people to do this, man. Thanks again, man. Be good.
You're welcome.
That was Crew Call Live for this week, Thursdays, 5 p.m. Crew Call Live on the Behind the Broadcast YouTube channel. Hope you guys check it out. Thanks so much, man. Take care.
Take care, man. Thank you.